2K24 is about to come out in just a couple of months, but let's forget about the future. Go back to the past because there were so many cool features in like all the past WWE games, and I think they should bring them back. We're gonna talk about 6 of them alongside Kenny Bomb in the building.
What's going on, everybody? Kenny Bomb is in the building. Thank you for having me on the channel, kiddo, and you are absolutely correct. There were so many great things in these WWE games we had in the past that they just snatched right out of them, and there's a lot of them I want to see return. I'm going to start with the first one. I would love to see the return of Road to WrestleMania mode in WWE 2K24. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly the same as what we had before, but I think if we had something like this Road to WrestleMania mode, it could add so much to the game as to where My Rise kind of lacks where it tells us a story. In Road to WrestleMania, they did just pretty much just give us a beeline story where you shoot right through it, and I think there were benefits to that because we didn't have to deal with all of the stuff with the cell phones in the back or just, you know, looking and talking to different wrestlers backstage, where it just seems like those things are added to kind of pad time and add time to the story mode, where Road to the WrestleMania just gave us that story we went right through, and I think they all did end up interesting. Now, they would of course do it different, where we would get 3 wrestlers to choose from maybe, and our created wrestler. I don't know exactly how we would work it this time around because I do like the RPG mechanics where we can build up our wrestlers, but just a mode like that I would love to see return in 2K24. What do you think about that, kiddo?
Lots of good points, man. Also, cool rhyme. They did stuff to pad time and add time. I like that very much. And like, here's something else you mentioned. We can choose our own superstar that we created, but there was also storylines for CM Punk, Chris Jericho, right? So it was best of the both worlds. And I agree absolutely with the pad time thing. Besides the rhyme, like, it feels like playing a Ubisoft game. Like, why am I doing this side mission? That's not gonna accomplish anything at all, right? So instead of that, just focus on one thing. Give us maybe, instead of like an 8-hour storyline, give us 6 hours, but that 6 hours is like really solid. That's perfect. That you don't forget. Yeah, I think that's my turn now. I'm gonna go with my number 1 being SVR 2011 weapon physics coming back into WWE 2K24. It was so good. People still talk about it to this day, and I don't know what happened with the engine because it really didn't change that much. Why can they not bring it back? Because like, I remember when you could like bump somebody on the chair and they would sell it just like they do now in 85 forever, or you could set up 2 tables and they would break properly. You can like orient your moves towards the tables, or a ladder. The ladder physics were amazing too. You could get like hung up on the ropes. It was just so much fun playing the extreme modes in that game, and it just, you know, allows for, again, a lot of fun, a lot of creativity, a lot of gameplay hours, a lot of bang for your buck. So I think SVR 2011, like, weapon physics should definitely be back in the game. It's been done before, why not again?
I absolutely agree with you. One big game from last year that didn't do too great was AEW Fight Forever, and in that game I think they did a great thing with the weapons. The lights out match is probably the most fun match in the game, so I would like to see 2K really put a better focus on what we can do with the weapons in 2K24. You know what, like you said, better physics. Casual pro wrestling really got me interested in the way different things could work with physics in the wrestling game, so hopefully they can get that figured out in 2K24, but we'll see. But now it is my turn, kiddo, and I'm going to be talking about a mode that people say could not return, but I think it's definitely possible, and I think it's one we actually need, and that is create a story. Now, create a story would add so much to these wrestling games just because, you know what, when it comes to longevity, reasons to play the game. You look at what we get with community creations, people are creating amazing wrestlers in there, and I think it would be no different with Create a Story. People will be putting great stories in there that would be good to take online, even for content creators. People create their stories, we take them online, and we play them. They could be fun, they could be goofy, some of them might get a little bit nasty, but hopefully they can figure all of those things out to filter them out. But I think Create a Story would be a great addition. Again, a lot of people say it can't happen, but 2K, I believe you can get it done. What do you think about that, kiddo? Cero miedo.
They can absolutely, and they should. I don't know if they can, but they absolutely should, because that's infinite amount of gameplay hours. That's infinite amount of content for you to watch. Like, I just remember my childhood when I had less of a beard, just, yeah, watching really crazy storylines, or it would be completely random. Like, it's so much fun. I don't know. Yeah, they should bring it back. They should merge it with the universe mode. As a matter of fact, shout out to Just Brian, by the way, and Off the Top in general. That's a great idea. Like, yeah, story mode. Again, like, I think that should be number 1 on 2K's list, if I'm being
should.
honest. I'm gonna go to my number 2 now, which is again gameplay related. It's chain wrestling. It's chain wrestling. We mentioned AEW Fight Forever just a minute ago. It has chain wrestling. And even 2K15 had chain wrestling, and a lot of people didn't like it because they called it too slow. And you know what? I agree. It was like really slow. It was weirdly done. It kind of killed the gameplay a little bit, but I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it because like it's actually simulated what we saw on TV. Now in modern wrestling times, we don't see that much chain wrestling going around, to be honest with you. But it's so awesome to, for example, be in a headlock, push the guy off the ropes and do a hip toss to that universal spot that, you know, that we see all the time actually, even though I just said we don't see chain wrestling, the universal spot, man. You probably see it in every match. So like, it's like, not having chain wrestling in a wrestling game is like not having punches in a Tekken game or in a fighting game. You know, it's like you need that in there. It's in the DNA of wrestling. And the reason why I mentioned AEW Fight Forever at the very beginning of this is because now it's kind of random in that, but when it happens, it's so much fun. The animations are so smooth. It breaks up, like it changes the gameplay too. And like it shows that it doesn't have to slow down the gameplay. It doesn't have to destroy it. It can actually be really, really complementary. So chain wrestling, I think, is something they should add for sure.
Absolutely agree, and it's great that you mentioned AEW Fight Forever there because that is something that they added to their game. And you still see the great wrestlers like maybe a Dolph Ziggler get in there and do chain wrestling, but we don't see it as much as we should, but that is a staple in wrestling. I used to love when you could build the matches in these wrestling games. Like you start out with the chain wrestling and then you start working your way into a match. So I think the flow of the matches are off right now because you can just ding, 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 you run up and hit a spear on the wrestler, which, you know what, whatever. They do it in UFC even these days, but you know what? I would love to see them get back to wrestling and get this chain match or the chain wrestling added to the game. So that is really a good one to focus on also. But quiero cero miedo, I got one last thing for you that I would like to see come back in these WWE games, and that is going to be mocap for each wrestler. Every wrestler right now in these 2K games, they have the same mannerisms. They get in the ring and they'll go ahead and hit you with a little MMA stance before they go ahead and start it off. And nobody actually feels like themselves. Now, people will say that's impossible. There's too many wrestlers. They can't get this done. If we look at what they're doing with the wrestling code, they're adding mocap for every wrestler in those games. So if they can do it, WWE 2K can definitely get this done. Not only the wrestling code, UFC 5 actually also did this as well. While that game is not too great, they did take the time to mocap their biggest fighters, and those fighters actually do feel like themselves when they're in the ring. WWE actually did this as well in Here Comes the Pain. So it's possible. Why they haven't done this yet, I'm not sure, but I love the wrestlers to actually feel like themselves. So I hope this is something they work into WWE 2K24.
Yeah, I recently visited Here Comes the Pain, just shoot some footage for a video, and I found myself, oh, let me play as The Rock, let me play as Rey Mysterio, because like it gets you excited. Like I wonder how playing as Rey Mysterio is gonna feel like, and it feels like exactly you would imagine. Rey is like super fast, he's jumping all the time, all of his moves are different. Like The Rock and Rey Mysterio really don't have like maybe one or two of the same moves, but I even doubt that. Like everybody had different moves, different thoughts, different way that they stood. It was just so advanced for the time, and I want to keep the conversation going around Here Comes the Pain, because my third and last thing on the list is faster or slash shorter reversals. So no like this long suplex reversal animation. Instead of that, just do an elbow. Just do an elbow to the gut, just do a kick, push him out, and then, hey, you're right back at the action. That's what happens in Here Comes the Pain. Someone's trying to pick you up, you get up, elbow, right back in the action. They can do the same thing to you, and like the match just keeps on going and going and going and going, right? You don't have to wait and watch a 10-hour animation while you're doing this, because that's exactly all you can do, which is nothing. So just fasten the animations. Again, Here Comes the Pain is great with it. Many other older wrestling games are great with it, and AEW Fight Forever is great with it.
I agree. I saw in your other video where you mentioned that the ref was too slow, so I think they need to speed up a lot in these games. But one thing about the reversal system is I really don't like it at all, so I'm hoping that's something they rework in the game this year, so we'll see what we get.
All right, man. But yeah, that's a lot to think about. I'm sure we could come up with a ton more, but I appreciate Kenny for you joining this video and helping me out with this list. We also made another video on Kenny's channel, so go ahead and check it out. It was about 3 changes we wanted in My Rise. It was another interesting conversation. And that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.